My name is Paul Nunes-Dier. I'm a certified professional facilitator from the IAF, which stands for International Association of Facilitators. Since 2018, I've started a book series on architecting collaboration, and my latest book, in co-authorship with Martin Duffy and other renowned digital facilitators and guest co-authors, is titled Beyond Virtual Meetings. It's all about the importance of the digital tools that can extend and augment the power of you as a facilitator and a meeting host in virtual online meetings, but also on the hybrid meetings that are going to be so much needed in this post-pandemic era. Along with my co-author Martin Duffy and esteemed PhD colleague, we host Talk to Your Meeting Daughters, a series of hosted conversations with meeting experts that can advise you about how to transition to this new normal and take advantage of this incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make the organization of your meetings more sustainable and effective. Please stand by as the next show will start momentarily. It's a pleasure for me to be here in such good company. As always, my co-host Martin Duffy.
Hi, folks. Good to be back.
And today with a special guest. Well, it's always a special guest, but this time perhaps you will discover Mila Pavlovik, how special she is, because she's a transformational coach, not just a facilitator, a transformational coach. We are going to unpeel this concept, but before we start, Martin.
Our regular question, Paul. Yeah,
Yes.
so Mila, this is the part we didn't really tell you about, but it's not a trap or anything. It's just to give our guests and our viewers an opportunity to get to know you a little bit. Is there anything about you that generally people wouldn't be aware of that you were happy to share with us? Anything from your past or an experience or someplace you went or just something about you?
So most of the people are already familiar that I moved around, but not everyone knows where I lived.
Okay.
So I grew up in Belgrade. I lived for almost 10 years in Tel Aviv, and then another 10 years in Berlin, and then
Wow.
I moved here. So, and here means Lisbon area, and I'm already for 3 years here. So yeah, that's
Tri-national. So you have three national experiences of 10 years each.
yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
multicultural. Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Oh, brilliant. That's
Yes.
yeah, that's fantastic. Fantastic experience to have accumulated.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a very interesting blend of cultures that are different from one another,
Yeah.
as well as opens ability to kind of see the other cultures as well,
Absolutely,
see
yeah.
things that are, or sense that something might not be said.
So
Things that
does that mean have you explicitly brought that into your practice as a coach?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's like intuition. That's you bring intuition and personal experience intuitively rather than overtly into your work.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Mila, let me ask you a tricky question. Now that you unveiled your three life experience, because Mila Pavlovik for me, it's a human being, Obviously a person, obviously a woman, obviously a colleague, facilitator, um, but also a brand. Mila Pavlovik as a brand name, right? But my question is how much of this 3 year stay in Lisbon have impacted Mila Pavlovik brand?
Yeah. It basically created, or it allowed it to be created. Because before it was kind of in a drawer, sitting in a drawer and doing things, but without thinking that there is something that can be wrapped as a brand. And I think the life in Lisbon is, or in Portugal, I believe, is so opening and welcoming that it just allowed me to, yeah, let's create this and let's try to think what can I bring to the world, and what is this brand about?
Wow, cool. Because a point kind of related to that, and to bring us into the theme or the topic that we said we might try and discuss today. Currently your work as a coach and as a facilitator is intuitively informed by your life experiences of having lived and grown up in 3 very different cultural settings. Artificial intelligence and the use of artificial intelligence in the development of facilitation and or coaching skills, I would suggest, is as far from intuitive as we might reasonably expect to get, because artificial intelligence, A, is artificial, and B, it's so relatively speaking new. So on the one hand, you have this intuition that you are bringing from yourself, and on the other hand, you have recent experience of artificial intelligence, which is almost counterintuitive. How would you respond to that?
Interestingly, for me, this is not counterintuitive. It comes together, and the way how it all comes together, I can perhaps rephrase it and put it from another angle. These different cultures taught me different languages, cultural languages, but also practical languages. I spoke the languages of countries that I lived in.
Yeah.
And as well, I learned as a child. I had a musical background, so I learned the musical language. I studied software engineering, so I learned the engineering language, and I worked in a tech field for many years, and that's basically my background. So I know how to communicate in the engineering and the technical language as well.
Cool.
And as well as the business, if we add that side as well. So all of those are different languages.
Yeah.
And AI is basically a machine learning. Machine learning is another language within this field of languages within engineering.
Yeah.
So for me, this was just yet another language to learn. And because I worked also on machine learning projects before, I have the technical understanding how the machine learning of what AI is about, or how this is built. So using it comes much more naturally for me.
So it's almost equally intuitive for you to use AI as it is to use, Belgian or Portuguese or English, or what did you speak in Israel?
Hebrew.
Hebrew,
So,
yes.
Yeah. I learned the Hebrew. I learned in Germany German, so I spoke. Sure, and every of those languages, they have their own problems, their own uniqueness.
Yeah.
Things that for me are much better and more intuitive to say, or how to phrase questions, or how to phrase sentences. And there are things that I struggle with, and that's the same for all the languages, including AI. So There are things that are super intuitive to me, and there are things that I can predict already an answer that's not going to be useful, or in what way not to use AI.
Oh, that's a hugely powerful position to have at the start of the AI journey. I just ask you then about the use of AI, your experience of the use of AI in your development as a coach stroke facilitator. How has it played a part in your personal development?
Yeah. So as a coach, so when I started the coaching journey, it was before AI and LLMs were popular. So I started coaching purely like that. But in the recent, as LLMs got developed and more used, I started having them, using them for my own growth. So there are different ways how a coach can improve themselves. One of the ways that is called peer coaching. Two coaches that are on their journey, different stages of the journey or on the same stage of the journey, you pair up together and you exchange. One person is a coach for some time, and then you change, and then the other person is. And in those safe environments, I decided to ask the peer coaches I was with to record sessions.
Okay.
And we recorded the sessions, which I later on used with LLM to improve. I would ask one of the algorithms I'm using, I would ask questions. What are the points I could improve? What are the suggestions you have for me? What would be what are miscues? Is there any keywords that I missed and I could have looked into, that I could have asked? Are there any patterns that AI can recognize what I'm doing either well or not well, because I'm using it for my own growth. I'm also more asking about the questions that are constructive. How do I become a better coach? So it's really interesting also to see over time the improvements. And
but in that instance, then, how does the LLM know how to what's it drawing on in order to answer those types of questions for you? Is it only drawing on the recordings that you've made, or is it using, the internet and its access to the internet? How is that operating?
Yeah, so it's using the internet as well as the transcript that is provided to it.
Okay.
So the internet, there are some standards. I put a limitation of what internet information I want him to use. Want it to use her, or whatever the gender we want to put or don't want to put there. So I define that I want to use the ICF standard. ICF standard means that there are core competencies that ICF defined. ICF is International Coaching Federation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that. It's just that's my preference. That was my choice. So it has the core competencies that ICF defined. So I'm asking it to search and compare to find evidence in the recording for each of the core competency that is defined. And then there is code of ethics in ICF as well, which I'm also using to asking the LLM to give me the proofs of each of the code of ethics also described, which gives me very specific thing to get the feedback on.
Yeah, so you're creating within the LLM, you're creating your terms of reference for it to work against.
Yes.
Because you've immediately addressed two major concerns that I would have had about the use of artificial intelligence in general. And one of them came from just reading an article in my newspaper here on Saturday. And a columnist, he was relaying how his son was sending him details about artificial intelligence and using it. And he described artificial intelligence as being like a good friend, but you can't trust them. You can't trust that they're telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that poses is, they're a good friend, they're good company, they're nice to be with, but you don't know if they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And so you've just identified it. So how you manage that in the coaching context, well, that's really, and I presume that's going to apply then. I'm just drawing not on your coaching experience, now on your broader engineering experience. I presume then that's how anybody using AI should start off with using AI. What boundaries do I want to?
It's a tool. That's how I see it. It's a tool that we need to use in the way that that serves us. We can see it as a friend in a conversation, but at the end of the day, it's not a friend. It's not a human. It's a tool. It's a very advanced tool that feels like a friend, but it will never replace human, in my opinion, at least.
We might come back to that idea maybe a little bit later, because you're prompting me now to spark a couple of different ideas. Because the second concern that I would have had, it relates to a video that I saw about AI maybe a month ago or something, where a medical doctor was asking an LLM to answer a specific question. And the answer that came back gave a number of citations. And the medical doctor challenged the LLM and said, that citation you gave there does not exist. Can you confirm that you made up that citation? And the LLM confessed, well, yes, I did actually make that up. The point that I took from that video was that there was an expert who recognized the friend, the tool, but who had sufficient knowledge and expertise to identify when the friend was lying, deliberately misleading, deliberately not telling the whole truth.
Yeah.
So again, how to manage that in the coaching context. You said in one of your earlier comments, you said that you challenged the LLM to tell you what standard it was using, I think you mentioned, or what ethical basis it was using.
Mm-hmm.
How, in practice, how does that work? How are you interacting with the LLM to do that?
So this is exactly the point. I know what ethics, the code of ethics, how it looks like, what it has. I also know how what the information is in the core competencies document. So those are two documents that I am familiar with. But it's much easier for LLM to go and search for proof. So I ask, find evidence of each, find evidence for, or evidences for each of the core competency. And then it would give me the timestamp, the quote that I said as a coach in that context. And then it would give me which core competency is it. It's still on me to decide, is it true or not? But the information is simplified for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Martin, let me challenge you. It's not often that we challenge each other as meeting doctors, co-hosts. But when you mention that AI does not give you the truth, how comfortable are we with this concept of truth, right? Because I have experienced truth in so many different ways. If it's a perception of something, wouldn't truth be, a statistic average of what everybody perceives to be the truth?
Yeah.
But then when something changes, woof, there's a shift in that truth, right? For instance, Galileo discovered that it's not the Earth that is in the center of the universe.
Yeah, I think that's 100% fair point. Truth is relative. So maybe truth in the broad sense that I used isn't as accurate a way to represent the idea in my head. What that video that I made reference to, Paul, the actual LLM was deliberately manufacturing a reference, a kind of
A quote.
a cited reference that did not exist. So it was creating something that was not truth because it simply didn't exist. So it made up a bibliographic reference. And the expert doctor was in a bit like yourself, Mila, where you know the ethics standards that that your association demands. But now you're not asking LLM to do anything with those ethics. You're asking it to take those ethics and apply them to my recording, the transcript of my interaction with somebody, and give me examples of where I've been true to the ethics, which is a completely different version of truth. Whereas if the AI model turned around and said, oh, well, there's an ethical standard that says you should, when actually that ethical standard doesn't actually exist. The LLM just made it up. Now you're saying that's the truth, Paul. That's my definition of what I mean by truth in this particular context. Is it made up, or is it actually drawing from something that has been previously cited or previously referenced?
The technical, if I may add here, the technical term for this is called hallucinations. LLMs are hallucinating. And that's a big problem, because when they don't know, there are situations when they don't know the answer. When LLM doesn't know what to answer, it gives an answer. Where it came the answer from, it doesn't know. It just hallucinated an answer.
Yes.
Why does it do that? Why does it not just say, I don't know?
That's a current problem of LLMs.
Yes, and Martin. So okay, let's take the quote you mentioned that was made up by the LLM, right? So let's go back 20 years ago. I was finishing my PhD.
Yeah.
I had an excess of 300 references, probably the same in your case, right?
Yeah.
I cannot swear that all the references that I have used were actually the ones I finally used in my publication. So, in what extent am I also hallucinating? And this is the most important, how relevant is it for life, right? Because no one cares if it's invented reference or not. It depends on the importance of what you do, right? So I would say that apples and pears, maybe what Mila described is a useful use of LLM, not to blindly use it for asking a quote, right? Yeah, we have to use it in another way, rather than a way that it it lies to you, but that's the wrong use. That's not LLM fault. Use it wrongly.
Yeah. Well, I had similar experience, Paul, myself doing my PhD, when I was at a conference and there was this statistic about organization meetings, which was my area, Mila, and this statistic kept on getting repeated across all of the different literatures. You know, there's 10,000 meetings that people attend per year, or whatever the statistic was. And one researcher decided, I'm going to pull that thread. I want to find where's the original source of this cited information, because everybody cited it. And then everybody was citing everybody else. But she said, where's the source? And when she pulled the thread, it was an hallucination. But AI wasn't involved. It was an hallucination in journal entries, in journal articles, in peer-reviewed conferences, blah, blah, blah. And And she called it out. And then she redid the statistics. And she said, actually, the real statistics based on, and then she produced her tables and her research data. And she said, the real statistics are more likely to be this rather than what the literature has quoted for the last 25 years. So I accept your point, Paul, 100%.
No, it's I think we are learning here all together. Yeah, fascinating.
We're learning about AI hallucinations, which, Mila, I'm fascinated by this concept. So why does it not tell us at the outset, I might hallucinate sometimes. Please don't accept everything that I produce as being gospel. Please, why do the models, the LLMs, why do they not more guide us into a safe zone for making best use of them, rather than, my perception is, we have the answer to everything. Just ask. That's the perception.
In the traditional programming, it would be possible to say, to look into the code and say, the error is here. When this does this does that, this happens. Yeah. You go and you fix it. Shorter or longer version of fix, you find a fix. Sure. In machine learning, we don't know what is happening. We don't know how the machine came to the conclusion. It's just unknown. It's black box. We don't know. We put input or we put training data. We have output. We scale this. We don't know why machine has decided to do something. Therefore, there is a process afterwards, after the models are trained, which is the way, in machine learning way of programming. After the models are trained, there is a process of validating. And this validation is a long process. And now with many companies developing different LLMs, every company needs a lot of humans to review data and to improve it. Not to review data as well, but that's another process before pre-training and preparation of data. But also comparing, you put out input to LLM, you validate that the answer it gave makes sense. And there are a lot of validations, but hallucinations right now are a problem. My guess is that this will at some point to some sort get adjusted, because that's something that I believe is adjustable in the future. But there are some problems that will not get resolved, like biased opinions. What you guys were talking about, if everyone is citing one number and a human goes and finds the source and says, now this is the original number, this is the number that we all should be pointing to, the LLM will still go to the majority of numbers because it searches statistical average. Yeah. And statistical average means every exception is ignored. And even if the truth is the exception, we are still staying with the average, meaning potentially false information, potentially misleading information.
Because that prompts me to think of another concern that I've certainly had, where if with the proliferation of LLMs, other LLMs become the source or sources, partial sources for the LLM that I'm currently using.
Yes.
But if those LLMs keep on referencing each other, it's a little bit like reducing the gene pool of a biologic system.
Yeah.
And at what point do you get to the point where actually the system is feeding off its own misinformation, disinformation, inaccurate information? And then how do you prevent that? But more importantly, how do users become aware of that? And how do users guard against that? That's the bigger concern, actually.
So on the technical side first, because the other is a bigger question that we can talk about, but the bigger question with it that I don't think I have enough information to talk about is why this happens and how this loop, this is a self-enhancing bias.
Yeah.
That recently, I think a few months ago, IBM also posted some research. They did some bias research, so they posted information about it. And this is one of the biases that LLMs have and needs to be addressed. So this is something on the technical side, on people how to resolve this. But how do we as users do it? We just have to we have to treat it as a tool that will give us information, sometimes useful, sometimes not. And we need to choose what is useful for us and not to trust it 100%.
And isn't that the real key? That we have to see it not as having the answer to everything, but actually as providing assistance to us to find the correct answer to what we are looking for, not to everything. It's so nuanced, but it's so fundamentally important. We've shifted really a long way away from what we started conversing about, which was the use of LLMs, AI in the art of facilitation coaching. So let me take us back to
but
your area.
Let me interrupt you here bluntly, Martin, because I know you have something to ask, but because time is running out, and I would like you, Martin, also to hear your opinion and Mila's on this, right? Because there's a lawsuit being placed by a family of a young kid who committed suicide, and they claim that was the coaching he got from ChatGPT, right? Because they're suing Open AI, the company who manufactures ChatGPT. I would like to hear also, Martin, your views, but obviously most important, Mila, because Mila is a coach, right? So in what sense should we trust the coaching, the advice that we get from a conversation with an LLM like ChatGPT?
Great question.
Shall I start, or Martin, you would like? Okay.
Your area of expertise, for sure.
So it's a tool. That's, I guess, the theme of what I'm trying to say here. LLMs can feel very. That's another bias it has, of optimism and positivity. It will always, if you notice, it always starts with great question. You're so smart. You're this or that. It's always some positive, and the answers are always or mostly in a positive, a light framed, which gives a feeling that it has empathy, that it's a friend, and it doesn't create a connection. It doesn't have a human best interest in mind. It has that's the difference between communicating and connecting. It communicates with people, it chats, you can talk to it, and it will talk to you back, but it will not connect with you on a human level. And that's also the difference between knowledge and presence. It has a lot of knowledge, but it doesn't have a presence. It's not emotionally with you or with us that we are talking. And the example that you, Paul, gave is really, really sad. And I'm following as well, trying to see what improvements they're going to do, how this is going to turn out. This must not happen in the future. This has to be prevented. But also, in this way, we are seeing the difference when talking to a therapist or a coach or a human facilitator, rather than talking to a ChatGPT or any other tool that we're talking about, that they don't differentiate emotions. Emotions are not part of it. Emotions are words. Yeah. So basically, the difference between words and emotions. No LLM can recognize emotions. It can verbalize emotions that are expected, predictable in the language model, but it doesn't feel or cannot really interpret them.
So you are sure, Mila, you are sure that the developments of AI, and even in a way that they see avatars replacing humans, as we think we are talking with a human, and it's not a human, it's an avatar powered by AI. So you are positive that coaching will never be destroyed as a profession by a powerful LLM with a face-looking human nature.
Yeah.
Would
I think it
that
will be
never happen?
enhanced. So coaching and therapy, psychotherapy, I see them in the same group because they address a little bit different problem, but they use similar techniques. So I see that LLMs will help individuals on a daily basis, where still the human connection that happens every few days, weeks, months, depending everyone in their own pace, but with a human connection is still going to be part of it. I think that LLMs will open people for a little bit more conversation that are right now taboo in many cultures. And people will start talking about those that they haven't been open to talk to before, to anyone around them before. But now they will start opening up more and potentially even reaching out to humans that will give them a different perspective. LLMs don't give a different perspective. They also, that's yet another bias of verifying whatever confirmation bias. They will always confirm what you're thinking. You're always right.
Interesting.
Actually, no, I think just to capture that last point that I made in the specific case, Paul, that you cited, the most worrying aspect of that I've read about, whether it's true or not, I can't 100% say, but it's that the LLM that the young boy interacted with, it seemed to be absolutely intent on holding his attention. That when you read the transcript of the interaction between the two of them, it was, you don't need to go anyplace else. You don't need to talk to anybody else. That I have all the answers. Now, that took place over a number of days, if not weeks. But my question is, the LLM to pursue that type of intimate interpersonal relationship? And is it about commercial, the key driver?
I'm curious to hear the answer about that as well. I don't have an answer. That's something that I'm really curious to learn about and to see what kind of solutions they will come up with, because this something is must not happen again. That's such a tragedy that has to be addressed. But right now, I don't have an answer why this is happening.
We've digressed significantly from our original thematic area, but actually, so let me come back. Maybe a final question, Mila, about our thematic area, which is coaching and facilitation and the use of LLMs/AI. As you characterized it to us so far, you've largely used it for your personal development as a coach. And you've explained how you've used it in that context, which is very structured, very contained, and very informed. Can you see a point where the LLMs could become a substitute coach or a substitute facilitator for human coaches or human facilitators? Do you see that as a possible future trajectory for AI coaching?
Complementary. It will come together.
Yeah.
Humans.
It's a tool, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the key.
And it's available 24/7. Whenever we have a thought, we can go and check it there. We can have our daily checks. Are we okay? We can do tracking. We can do so many things that will support coaching or process of transformation, or therapy, if we look also from that angle. Both of them, they have, it's so available that it can amplify the process.
And Mila, before we go, because Martin is going to obviously make a nice summary of our conversation so far, I bet it's going to be challenging this time, Martin. But before we go, how do you see, Mila? Because I realized that you put in the same basket, albeit obviously in different dimensions, coaching and psychotherapy, right? Mm-hmm. You put them on the same basket because mainly of the methods and techniques they used, both approaches use and share, right? So, but that's, and then tell me about what are the differences with these other baskets of facilitation, because you are also a member of the IAF and a facilitator. What are the differences, and in which way do you see that coaching techniques and even psychotherapy techniques could also be applied by a facilitator in a group situation?
Yeah, so that's I will start with the connection. All three of them are working and focusing on the human connection and human experience. And psychotherapy comes from psychology and psychological models and different techniques that were developed there. Coaching is more future-looking and change towards future, also based on the same tools from therapy, but without looking so much backwards into the history and previous experience, but rather looking forward. And facilitation is the same with groups, with more people. Now, the question would be, what's the difference between facilitation and group coaching? Because in group coaching, it's also a group, but the group coaches itself. Where facilitation or the coach within a group coaching is facilitating the process where the knowledge is shared within the group. The coaching itself is done within the group. Where facilitation is, a coach comes with a prepared process of what are the achievements, what is to be achieved here, and guides the humans to go towards it. Whether that's a transformation, whether that's a agreement, meeting agreement, whether that's a transparency or sharing information, right? We have all these different kinds of facilitation uses. But yeah, the point is that all of those things, they guide the human experience they help humans to process the experience and make it better, to grow. They all hold the space.
Which is a fundamental concept of both facilitation and coaching.
Yeah.
It's holding that space.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Paul, perhaps it's time for a short summary.
Go.
It's Mila. I normally try to do a kind of a 1 minute or maximum 2 minute summary of just some key ideas that came up in our discussion. Fascinating. Your starting point was your background from 3 different countries and cultures, and you extended that into languages, which you have further extended into the idea of technical language, engineering language, which then brought us into the concepts of artificial intelligence, large language models, and how they might play a role in coaching. And from your perspective, you are viewing the LLMs simply as another language through which we can communicate. You then gave us examples and specific instances of peer coaching that you've engaged in as part of your own development and training, which you recorded and then fed into AI. But this is the really important part, as I took it. you also fed in constraints into the AI model that you were using in terms of the standards, the ethics, the code of ethics of your professional body. And you asked AI to do what it's really good at doing, which is to review the transcripts, to review the standards and the ethics codes, etc., and to help you to identify where you are performing or not performing according to the standards. So that sounds to me like a really clearly thought out use of AI to support very specifically what you are trying to do as a professional coach and facilitator. But that then brought us into the idea of LLM hallucinations, because one of the concerns that I raised with you was the idea that LLMs can produce either inaccurate information or completely bogus information. And you could give us a technical expression for that, which is it produces hallucinations. And there's a whole technical challenge to be faced with that and the use of AI models, not just in coaching, but in their entirety. But that then brought us to the idea of the LLMs potentially becoming almost like surrogate coaches. And again, our questions brought us down this path of saying, could they become coaches? And you drew a very clear distinction between the LLMs being friendly, but not emotionally connected to people. So the way they are constructed, they produce answers that appear like they're a friend. They give praise at the very start of their answers. You suggested to us. They couch their answers almost exclusively in positive terms, but they lack the emotional connection that the human coach or the human facilitator might bring to the party. Our overarching summary, I would suggest then, is twofold, because Paul posited partly the question of into the future of AI stroke LLMs as stroke facilitators. And you drew distinctions between individual individual coaching versus group coaching versus group facilitation, and how some interactions are backward looking before they deal with the present to then deal with the future. Other interactions, facilitation, is largely in the here and now, looking to project forward. Coaching is more about looking forward and asking ourselves, how might we get there? So the requirement of the intervention is different depending on what we're setting out to do. But you emphasized numerous times during our conversation, AI is just a tool. It's not the answer. It doesn't give us the answer. We must constrain the boundaries around it in order to get the most useful feedback from it. So I hope that did some justice to the breadth of conversation, because it was a really fascinating conversation, at least from my point of view. Thank you very much. That was really good.
It was really great, Martin. Thank you so much, because this last minute summarizes the whole of the conversation, right, Mila?
Yeah, pretty much, yes. Thank you, Martin.
Was that better than AI would do it, I wonder?
Absolutely.
You can test it.
It's a human quality. Maybe AI will have to learn with you. They have to create an LLM on Martin Duffy.
I don't think so, Paul. I don't think so.
But anyway, Mila, any golden nugget you would like to share from this conversation? Is there anything you surprised you in the conversation, and how do you evaluate the experience?
I think this is the human connection.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this conversation different to chatting with ChatGPT about the same conversation or any other LLM, right? It's a human connection. It's uncertainty in which direction we'll go. It's the beauties of discovering different ways and how we think and what connects for us and what questions we have and what brings in us. And I think that's the beauty that we should empower more of the human connection, more talking to each other. That's something that the future will need more.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a nice way to end up this conversation. Mila, thank you so much. Martin, again, thank you so much for co-hosting. It was great to be here with you and all dear viewers. I hope you enjoyed this episode, 55th in the series. Talk to your meeting doctors. Looking forward to be with you in the next time. In the meantime, enjoy and grow yourself.
Well said, Paul. Thanks, Mila.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.